Welcome to the Respectful Divorce Podcast. If you're considering divorce, it's important to know that you have options for how you divorce. On the Respectful Divorce Podcast, we explore those options and provide advice from divorce professionals. I'm your host, Tim Crouch, and today we're talking with members of the Collaborative Law Group of Southern Arizona. Joining us are collaborative divorce attorney Sarah Wright, Denise Hausler, a mental health professional and divorce coach, collaborative divorce attorney Kristi Bang Simon, and certified divorce financial analyst LaShaun Shelby. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Hello.
So let's begin. First of all, Denise and LaShaun, we know why divorce attorneys are part of a podcast talking about a divorce. Why do we have a mental health professional and a financial professional as part of this conversation? Denise?
So the mental health professional role is to support the families, the people going through the divorce, including the children, and to help them learn different positive communication skills, conflict resolution, create a cohesive parenting plan, and learn how to co-parent in a healthy manner. And at times we have an additional role called the child specialist. It could be the mental health professional or the child specialist, and they advocate for the children and ensure that the children's voices are heard in the process. And so the mental health professional kind of supports the emotional process, but as well as build skills with the parents and the family throughout the process, so they have those skills after the process is completed.
Yeah. So, and LaShaun, as a financial professional, why are you here?
So I am a certified divorce financial analyst, and my role is to help both spouses to clearly understand the financial realities of their divorce without advocating for either side. I gather and I organize all the financial information. So that includes assets, debt, income, retirement accounts, and sometimes business interests if any other spouses have a business. And so I help them to develop a realistic post-divorce budget. I run projections and I model different settlement scenarios so that the couples can see not just what works today, but what will work for them long term. So we look at tax implications, retirement planning, insurance needs, everything to help create financial stability for the road ahead. And so often there's one spouse that's handled the finances. So there can be a lot of anxiety about the imbalance. So as a neutral, I help level the playing field through education and transparency. So I help both parties understand the numbers and to approach negotiations with the information and the details necessary to provide them more clarity.
And Sarah and Kristi, as attorneys, they are bringing something into the divorce process that you don't really have in a litigated process, right?
That's true. Yeah. Well, or they have two. For example, financial experts. So the cost gets a lot higher and then they're battling about, values and what numbers are right. But to me, the coach, both of the neutrals are absolutely important, very much more so than the attorneys, I like to joke. But it's true because the coach, for example, is doing the work that Kristi and I would be doing in litigation cases, but we don't have that training. So acting as somebody's kind of emotional support system, we do that. I don't do litigation anymore, but I used to do that all the time. And to now have the benefit of somebody like Denise to be the person that has the experience and helps guide them through the emotions so that they're able to come to the table and be able to speak to the issues at hand instead of the past emotions and whatnot is just the biggest blessing for sure.
Yeah. And Kristi, I think one of the things you might say about the financial professional is they get the numbers and you're not really trained to get to understand the numbers in the same way, right?
No, we're not. We used to joke in law school all the time. If we knew how to do math proficiently, we would have gone to medical school. I'm not a great numbers person, and so it's extremely helpful to have two trusted professionals on board as a team to do the things that lawyers really don't know how to do. We're not clinicians. We don't deal with behavioral health, child specialist issues. We are not financial experts at all. We are there to guide the folks. We always say that with collaborative process, you can do better than the law, but sometimes it helps to understand the law as sort of a starting point. So that's what we're there for. We're not necessarily adversarial in nature. We're there to help both parties figure out what's really beneficial for their family moving forward.
And I think that's an important point of the traditional divorce that we think about is adversarial. It's intended to be a big fight, right?
Yes. That's usually how it turns out. And it's a battle of experts. We have two experts, but the parties both use the same expert. So there's no battle, if you will.
And so, Sarah, for someone who's going through a divorce in Arizona, a traditional litigated divorce, what does that experience look like?
It's terrible is the best way to describe it. I stopped handling litigation matters a number of years ago because I saw the impact on families. And I always say this to our group now that for litigation, the only people that win are the attorneys because they're the ones making the most money in the situation, and the money that could be better spent for the family, for their kids to go to college down the road, is spent by the attorneys. And it's not to say they're doing that intentionally, but most attorneys, like in Pima County, there's about 100 family law attorneys here, and 7 of us have the training to do collaborative law matters, which keeps you out of court. And it certainly means more money is going to the family with the help of LaShaun to work on a new two household situation that works for both of them, as opposed to attorney pocketbooks. So, and the emotions are addressed. You know, it's not that everybody's singing Kumbaya and it's perfect, but they're learning new skills with Denise's help or other coaches' help to be able to communicate better. In litigation, that is not there. Every single issue is out of their hands. They're fighting, they're going to hearings, and it's just money, money, money. And they do not leave with any new skills to help down the road. So those cases are often back in court a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, over and over and over. So we always feel that in the collaborative process, they're learning the skills that can help them. And they've developed a plan that they controlled with our help and our support. They've controlled, so it's going to work more long term than just having a judge listen to testimony, try to take good notes, and come up with something that is not going to work for everybody long term. That's typically what happens. Or the kids, certainly the kids.
LaShaun, I wanted to ask you, as a neutral financial professional, how does that neutrality define the work that you do?
So as a neutral, we don't represent either side. And so we gather all the financial information and we make sure each spouse is informed. And we try to be transparent with everything, with sharing all the financial information. So often you have one spouse that serves as the CFO for the relationship. And so they haven't often seen statements. They don't know the balances of the accounts. So as a neutral, we make sure that we share that information with each spouse. And so that they see, often for the first time, these numbers for these various accounts through our process. So we're not only educating them, but we're actually also giving them empowerment as well.
And part of that empowerment, I would assume, is that in most divorces, it's fear about what it's going to look like afterwards. How am I going to survive? And part of the financial picture becomes a lot more clear because of the work you do, right?
Absolutely. So we help each spouse gather the information on expenses post-divorce. So we look at what it looks like now, but we also look at how this divorce may impact them later. So we're running projections on the different settlement options so that they can see, if we choose this option, how does it impact me 30 years from now? If we choose this option, this other option, how does this impact me 30 years from now? So we're looking at now, but we also look at the future, and so that they understand, don't make these decisions lightly.
Yeah. And Kristi, in a litigated process, that's really not part of the process of projecting down the road, right?
No, it absolutely is not, which is one of the reasons, as Sarah explained, cases can go on and on year after year because they run into disputes down the road. We always say that the collaborative process allows the family to have control over the outcome. When you throw something at a judge, you never know which way it's going to go for sure. Certain, you just don't. And it's a proactive approach to get things settled and keep them settled such that the spouses feel more educated on how to deal with kids' issues moving down the road. One of the things we find interesting is it's not just minor children issues that come up. A lot of times it's adult children issues that these couples are facing. So we kind of cover the whole gambit if we can with clients.
Yeah. And Denise, divorce is much more than just a legal process. It's a very emotional process. And part of what you're able to do is read the room, right?
Right. So part of the role is to identify the potential barriers that could cause them to derail from what they decide are their priorities and their goals. So part of what we do is ask them to create an anchor statement. And the anchor statement is really almost like a mission statement for a company where they identify their priorities and their goals. And we use that in each meeting to kind of ground them and bring them back to, hey, these are your goals. So when the emotions and the grief and the changes do arise, they can get back to being focused on what their original intent was. And because they are usually focused on the best outcome for their family and they get to make those decisions, they have more ownership in that. And so they're more willing to work through those emotions and focus on the outcome that they desire.
Yeah. Sarah, one of the hallmarks of the collaborative process is that there's a commitment that everybody signs off on not to go to court.
Yes, that is a big one, right? And it can cause some concern at the beginning. What does this mean? But the importance of it is to get everybody on the same page, that everybody on the team signs this agreement. And we emphasize in signing this, you guys are agreeing that you're not going to go to court. You're not going to threaten to go to court, which is, common in litigation, where you start a case and anytime something doesn't go your way, you say, well, I'm going to get a hearing. I'm going to get the judge to do this or that or the other. And it's not to say that people don't, mess up and say that sometimes in separate meetings with Denise or with their attorney, even with the financial specialist like LaShaun. But because you have a team in place, then we can bring them back to, hey, remember this process, and you are committed, just like the team is, to staying the course, staying out of court, keeping control of all the decisions in your family's lives. And that's usually able to help, get them back on track. But it is very important, and it's a huge benefit. It's such a relief for most people to say, wait, there's an actual formal document that we're signing that says we will not go to court. Sign me up for that, right? Most people don't start out absent extremely angry feelings that they don't want to go to court. They don't want their day in court. They want to control results, and they can only do that in an alternative dispute resolution process like the collaborative process.
Well, and Denise, I would guess that most, not most, but in some cases, people are enter the process thinking they want the judge to hear their side of the story, but they really just want to get it out, their complaints, and the collaborative process is really set up to be able to let them tell their story.
Right. So a lot of times I meet with each parent individually and hear and allow them to move through the emotions. And a lot of that is fear-based for the future. And they want to be heard. And then once we accomplish and they feel heard and supported and understood, then we meet together as a team and talk about how do you guys want to move forward with parenting? How do you want to co-parent? What's important to you in this process of co-parenting your children, or even just engaging in future activities together? And so I feel like the collaborative process allows for that holistic approach for them to be heard, but also to move forward with their stated goals and their priorities.
So as we begin to wrap this up, we're doing this podcast ahead of Divorce with Respect Week, which is coming up March 1st through 8th. And let me ask each of you, and LaShaun, let's start with you. What does it mean to divorce with respect?
So that means that you're not fighting, you're agreeing to work together to come to a solution that doesn't involve a judge deciding your outcomes for your family. So it means working together to do what's best for your family.
Yeah. Kristi, what does respect look like to you in the divorce process?
I think it means honoring your partner for who you used to be and honoring the role that you will both play moving ahead financially or with children, adults or otherwise. Just simply honoring that aspect of your life that has now changed and kind of focusing on what you learned from that and the growth you made through it together.
All right. And Sarah, same question. What does respect look like in the divorce process to you?
To me, it's allowing them to be their best selves, right? You enter a marriage with respect and dignity, and it might be surprising to hear for your listeners that you can also end your marriage with respect and dignity. And there's a lot to be said for doing that, because not everyone has children, but you may have common friends. Or certainly if you have children, you're going to be dealing with potential grandchildren down the road, relatives that you both love from both sides of the families. And to be able to end a marriage with respect, where you've heard each other out, you've been open to hearing other ideas, you've been able to say what you need to say, allows a better situation moving forward where you can co-parent with that dignity and respect. And you're teaching your children, hey, look how we did it. It helps them get through it better. It helps other family members, rather than being angry at your former spouse. They're going to be at events together. So it's just not realistic to keep going through litigation and think that that's going to create harmonious relationships down the road. We wanted to mention for sure that this process has actually been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize a few years back. And I think that's important for people to understand. We, in this process, are trying to make the world a better place, one family at a time. And it begins with the process that you choose.
Yeah. And Denise, same question to you about respect.
I think in the process, both parties are heard, including if they have minor children or adult children, that everyone's opinion or perception is valued and not devalued. And that doesn't mean that they always agree, but that they learn the skills to communicate and respect each other's position. And long term, as Sarah said, that role models for their children and for one another, how they move through the world, how they move through life. And so I think mutual respect is a huge part of it. And it doesn't always mean that they agree, but it means that they're willing to listen and be heard and understood. So that's what it means to me.
Sarah Wright, Denise Hausler, Kristi Bang Simon, and LaShaun Shelby, thank you all for joining us today on the Respectful Divorce Podcast. If someone would like to get in touch with you or learn more about you, what's the best way to get more information about you, Denise?
We have a website, divorcewisely.com. And so they can find all the providers through that website.
Okay. Individual contact for you?
Yes, is Denise Hausler at gmail.com.
All right. And Sarah, best way for people to learn more about you?
Well, certainly going to the Divorce Wisely website. It has our contact information for everybody on there. But certainly they can email me, swright@wrightazlaw.com, or my website, wrightazlaw.com.
All right. Kristi?
I too, I'm on the website divorcewisely.com. And if you get on that website, all of the professionals have a little bio that you can read and decide which professional seems like the best fit for you.
Okay. And LaShaun?
In addition to divorcewisely.com, we have a website called Divorce Finance Tucson, and you can find me along with 2 other financial neutrals. And there is another financial neutral also on our Divorce Wisely website. And my email is LaShaun@divorcefinancetucson.com.
We will put all of that contact information and links to the website in the show notes. For those of you watching us online, thank you for watching the Respectful Divorce Podcast. This important programming note, Divorce with Respect Week is coming up March 1st through 8th in 2026. During Divorce with Respect Week, you can talk with lawyers, divorce coaches, divorce financial experts for free to learn more about the divorce process and your options. Simply go to divorcewithrespectweek.com to find professionals near you. Divorce with Respect Week, March 1st through 8th. That website, once again, divorcewithrespectweek.com. I'm Tim Crouch for the Respectful Divorce Podcast, reminding you that collaborative divorce is a better way to untie the knot.